There's another developing international story coming out of Iran tonight. Police are out in force in Tehran, patrolling the streets in a show of force there. Today, mourners remember a fiery cleric who was one of the regime's most vocal critics. The somber commemoration coincides with the religious holiday of Ashura. That is setting the stage for clashes Sunday between the regime and opposition protesters who refuse to be silenced. Reza Sayah is here with me, and you know, a lot of my friends who are Iranian say this movement has never stopped. Every time there's any kind of ceremony, gathering, mourning, it's a powder keg waiting to go.
Not only has it not stopped, there are indications that it's escalating and gaining momentum. And what a day today in Tehran. We saw protests and widespread clashes throughout much of the day. Members of the opposition movement coming out despite repeated warnings by the government and police officials not to do so. Once again, we saw clashes again in the southern parts of Tehran and northern parts of Tehran. But right now, we want to get you to one of the most dramatic pieces of video that I have seen since the disputed elections on June 12th. This is video on Saturday of former two-term Iranian President Mohammad Khatami. There he is speaking in Jamaran, which is the former home of the late Imam Khomeini in northern Tehran. Now, Drew, and there you see members of the Basij will, in just a few minutes, knock on the door, break it open, and there's going to be some commotion. Drew, over the past few months, analysts have described the turmoil in Iran as a face-off between the new military establishment dominated by the Revolutionary Guard, by the Basij, against the old establishment, the religious clerics who founded the revolution. And nothing illustrates this face-off more. Listen to the commotion here. Now, keep in mind, this is a former two-term president of the Islamic Republic of Iran, his speech being disrupted by what appear to be members of Iran's Basij. Again, this really illustrates what many analysts say is happening in Tehran, and that's a face-off between the new establishment, the military establishment led by the Revolutionary Guard, and the old establishment, the establishment that Mohammad Khatami, the former president, is a part of. This was the culmination of a day that started with protests and clashes beginning around 11 a.m. and lasted throughout the day. A couple of hours ago, we spoke to some witnesses who were seeing clashes as long as 9 p.m. Saturday night. That's a good chunk of the day. And let's talk about the significance of this weekend, because it's steeped in symbolism. And it really shows you how symbolism and martyrdom is important in Iran. This weekend commemorates Ashura. In 680 A.D., Imam Hussein, one of the most revered figures in Islam, was martyred by a Sunni caliph. And for ages, Iranians have been commemorating his passing by coming out into the streets and mourning and engaging in self-flagellation, beating themselves in the chest. And this was one of the first times in recent memory that security forces tried to hold back, tried to crack down on what is religious ceremonies. Again, what the opposition tried to do was once again target a religious holiday, hijack it, and disrupt it. And so much symbolism today, because much of the opposition movement sees itself as playing the role of Imam Hussein, the martyr who was outnumbered by Yazid, the Sunni cleric, and tens of thousands of his followers. He was martyred. They are taking on his role right now, fighting against what they describe as an unjust and brutal force, which is the regime right now.
The big question I always have when you're covering Iran is, are Iranians seeing this? Are they able to see what happened here?
I think your answer is in the video. If they wouldn't be seeing this, they wouldn't be coming out in mass. And keep in mind, these are people who know that there is a crackdown underway. Their lives are at risk. They are well aware of the stories and allegations of the rape and torture in prison. They know the risks that they're facing. Yet what do? Over and over again? They keep coming back despite the dangers that they face. These are two sides that appear to be digging in. They don't appear to be backing down. Something's got to give. When that something gives, nobody knows. But in the meantime, there's certainly a severe political crisis that we're witnessing.